Well, hello, everyone. My name is Jay Berkowitz, and thank you for being here. Today, we're going to talk about something really, really important because it's only once in every about 5 years that Google actually changes the top of Google screen, the top of Google. And if you see here, they've introduced a new thing called Google Screen right at the top of Google. So let's talk about why this is important and how you get up to the very top of Google with this new configuration. So if you search something like Deerfield Beach car accident attorney, that's a local area here. Three boxes appear at the top, and this is the new Google screen. So this appears above the ads, above the maps, and above the SEO. And that's why it's so important that we figure out the secret algorithm. And I'm going to share that with you today. How you get in the top three on a desktop search, and only two appear on a cell phone search. So very, very important that we figure out the secret algorithm. Now, this is something that I wrote about in my book and my presentation called The 10 Golden Rules of Online Marketing. And golden rule number 10 is lead the trends. And why this is so valuable as a marketer is when something changes, like once every 5 years like this, you've got an opportunity to jump in and take advantage of it for 3 to 6 months before your competitors take advantage of it. So if you haven't already gotten screened, this is for you if you're an attorney, a real estate agent, or in any professional services like accounting. And previously, this was available and is still available to home services. It's a different program called Verified. It's available for plumbers, locksmiths, anyone, garage repair, anyone who comes into your home. So if you haven't already taken advantage of this, you've got that little window before every single competitor has done it. So we'll show you some examples of our attorneys who've gotten in the past 90 days and how they've gotten over 1,000 leads already. And like I said, it's a 3 to 6 month window. So we're 3 months in. You probably got about a 3 month window before the competition is just absolutely insane, depending on your market. This is one of our attorney clients. This is the back end of their Google screen. And you see they've already generated 319 phone calls, 319 pay per call leads, and they've archived 122, meaning they've rejected them. They're not paying for them because they're not in a practice area that they want to take advantage of. So that's why it's so important. And let me get into the agenda for today. First of all, I'm going to say why I'm credible, or why I believe I should be your guide through this, your teacher today. A little bit about my background. Then we'll talk about how do you get screened if you haven't done it already. And if you're already screened, we'll talk about the secret algorithm to get you in the top two on a cell phone or top three on mobile. And we'll also talk about how to manage the program. So once you're up and live, how do you manage the program? I'm just want to make sure everything's good. Test 1, 2. Just ping me, Olivia, if the audio is not good. And I want to make sure that let me just check and make sure everything's going good here. Maybe someone can just pop in the chat if audio is good. Yeah, we're good to go. Okay, so we'll talk about how to manage the live leads, and then finally I'll share some advanced tips for actually managing the program. All right, so maybe I can move this over here, get the chat up here, get the chat over here. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, Jay Berkowitz, come from Winnipeg, Canada, one of the coldest places on earth right now, and home of the Winnipeg Jets. We love our Jets. I like to sneak that in every presentation. But we got lucky or smart. My wife Bonnie and our dog Parker, we now live in beautiful Boca Raton, Florida. In my background, I worked for some amazing brands. I was very lucky early in my career to work on Coca-Cola, and it had over 100 years marketing at the time. And I worked for Sprint and got into technology, getting our clients their first emails, getting companies their first data access. I also worked my first job at an ad agency, and then I became the director of marketing for McDonald's restaurants. And I sold some of the most delicious, high-fat, fantastic, tasty food in the world, and went from selling McDonald's to working at ediets.com. And eDiets was when I jumped in to digital marketing. And we had an amazing program we used to spend about $40 million a year to generate $60 million in sales. And we were one of the top 5 largest advertisers on the internet back in 2002, 2003. And we would spend a ton of money, 30, $40 million, bringing people into Jay's little test lab. I mean, it was eDiet's website. But for me, I was learning what were banners that got clicks. What did people do when they went to a website? How could we get more people to sign up for our program? And if not, sign up for our newsletter. So I learned all about digital marketing at a time when, Google was still in beta. Mark Zuckerberg was still in high school. And we were doing, $40 million worth of traffic to our website. And from that, I wrote this presentation called The 10 Golden Rules of Online Marketing. The 10 Golden Rules presentation became the name of my company, my book, my first book, and my new book coming out in 2021 is called Internet Marketing for Law Firms, because now we spend most of our time helping law firms figure out their internet marketing. I speak at conferences all around the world, including a private lawyer conference called the M&L Conference, and I'm the sole judge and jury of the Millie Awards for the top internet marketing provider. And I think Jeff Phillips is on the call today, and Jeff McDonald, if you see this in the future, congratulations on winning the last round of Millie Awards. Our company, 10 Golden Rules, based in Boca Raton, Florida, as I mentioned, focuses on helping lawyers figure out their internet marketing, and we work with a bunch of great brands all across the country. One of the things we're very proud of is the hockey stick. And as a Canadian, I love when I can produce a hockey stick for one of my clients. And this is an example of traffic to our client's website. When we started working with them, they were getting 1,000, 2,000 visits a month. And then we got them into the 9, 10,000 a month range. They were getting 20, 30 leads a month, and we got them into this 250, 260 category. One of the things we do every month is we do one of these webinars. And I want you to know that what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to cover off the entire internet marketing model, which is a model that I've developed where we funnel traffic into a website using a number of different services. And then on the website, we focus on conversion and back-end conversion, things like emails, newsletters, etc. So we do one of these webinars every month. And over the course of a year, we're going to cover off all the strategies you need to do internet marketing. So for example, this is Google Screened, which is a subset of Google advertising. We did a webinar last year on pay-per-click advertising, and we'll do that again this year. We'll update it. The ABCs of SEO, search engine optimization. And I had some amazing partners, and we'll bring the partners back again this year to talk about conversion and intake strategies. Once you get that phone call, how do you convert people? And we did a webinar on video marketing, the cutting edge of video marketing. We had Crisp Video on there and a number of amazing partners. So please don't miss any of the upcoming webinars. We'll cover off the entire internet marketing model again in 2021. So now, without further ado, let's talk about this new dynamic change right at the top of Google called local service ads. Google technically calls it their local service ads, but I call it Google Screen because that's what the consumer sees. They see a check mark that your firm has been screened or approved by Google. So what is it? Well, first of all, these are above the ads, they're above the maps, and Google Screened or Google Local Service Ads, it's a totally different platform from the Google advertising platform. So you have to sign up again, and you have to get screened or approved. Now, the beauty of the program is it's a pay-per-lead program. So you only pay when you get a phone call or a message lead into your system. And that's represented by these 3 boxes on the desktop or the 2 boxes on a cell phone. Here's how it looks on a cell phone. As I mentioned, 2 boxes. You only pay for the qualified leads. It's not like the advertising program. Like if I click down here, that's a pay per click program. But the beauty of that is I don't pay for non-leads. I only pay when it's a good lead, when it's in a category that I want to be advertising on, and I told Google I want to be there. You get screened or verified by Google. They have this partner called Pinkerton, which is like a private investigation company. So you need to provide pictures, company information, and all the calls are recorded in this back-end lead database. So it's a really valuable and really powerful program. Now, we love phone calls, right? If you're a law firm or if you're an accounting firm, professional services, a phone call typically can convert at 24%. If you actually get to speak to the customer and find out they're a fit for what services you provide, those convert on average around 24%, according to our research. Now, chats, if someone uses the chat function on your website, those are pretty good. Those folks are interested, and you can generally convert those at 9 or 10%. But when someone fills out a form on your website, traditionally, that only converts at 2 or 3%. So the beauty of this program is if someone searches and they click to call, they're going to convert at 24%. So you got to be there, you got to be in the game, you got to be on the top of Google in Google Screened. So how do you get screened? You go to this link, ads.google.com slash local dash service ads, or what you can do is just, if you just search Google local service ads or Google screened local service ads, you'll find the link and you go there and sign up. So there's 4 steps to do it right. And we've done this for all of our clients. I think everybody's approved now on Google Screened. So what you need to do is, first step is get a new Gmail, and I'll take you through this. Then you go through the profile, then you get Pinkerton approved, and you manage the program through an AdWords account. So the first thing is you want to create a brand new Gmail account. And yes, I said yes, a new one. Like, you really want to just go to Gmail, or search on Google for new Gmail. It's accounts.google.com/sign up. And I set one up here, like this is a pretend one, Gonzalez and Berkowitz at gmail.com. But use something memorable, write it down, write your password down, make sure you have that accessible, because you'll need it over and over again to sign into your Google Screened. And you do have to give them a cell phone number and a birthday, and then you're going to save your password. So you've got a brand new Gmail, and you're going to set up your Google Screen with a brand new Gmail. So you create you complete your profile once you sign in. So once you've got a Gmail, now you're going to go to this ads.google.com local service ads. This is where you sign in for the local service ads. And now you're going to create your Google Screened or your local service ads account. You're going to go through a whole bunch of information. So if you're setting this up for someone, or your partner of your law firm's not going to be there, make sure you have you need the EIN, the state of incorporation. You need a license number, like a bar license number, credit card info, photos, service areas, all this information. And you're going to walk through basically each of these sections. It's going to walk you through signing up. Now, the next thing is you're going to go through the Pinkerton screening. So after you get the basic profile information, now this investigations company is going to need the principal's social security number, date of birth, the year founded, the date you moved into your current location. So it's actually a pretty rigorous process where they're screening you. So when you as a consumer click on one of these ads, you know that Pinkerton's at least verified, this is an attorney, he's got a license, it's current, they have a physical location, et cetera, et cetera. And then the final thing is, and this is again a little sort of pro tip, if you will, that we've learned the hard way. If the best bet is to set up a brand new Google Ads account in the Google advertising program. Don't use your existing ads account, because anytime you're confusing Google, it seems to with this new program with Screened, it seems to mess with the artificial intelligence they built into it. So what I recommend is create a brand new Google Ads account. So same thing, you're going to search Google advertising. Then we set up the ads account, and then you can set up additional users. And this is important because you want to send the leads to a couple people on your team. Like we've got it set up for most of the clients, where the intake manager and someone on the intake team gets a copy of the leads when they come in. So you're always jumping on these leads, because of course these are hot leads. These are people who clicked right at the top of Google to come to your website. Okay, so now you're set up, you're approved, you get an email, congratulations, you're Google Screened, and you're going to start appearing either on the screen here at the top, or when you click more personal injury lawyers or more real estate agents, you're going to see a listing of everyone in your area who's approved. And you can do that right now. You can go and search like car accident attorney near me or real estate attorney near me, and you'll see the folks who are approved in your area. Now, the live program, once you get approved, starts to look like this. This one's awesome. Obviously, we've got a couple hundred leads in here, and you're going to be able to manage the program in here. So if you click on one of those leads, you can see, you can actually click here and you can listen to the calls. So that's, again, one of the beauties of the program is you can monitor your intake team, how they're doing. You can listen to the calls. And then it's very important that you're going to disposition the calls. Basically, you're going to decide, are they good or bad? Now, here's my recommendation. If any of these leads come in and they're in one of your practice areas, like you're a personal injury attorney and someone had a slip and fall, and even if they're not really that injured and it's not a case that you're going to take, they did do a Google search, they did give you a call, they did click on your ad, and it was a slip and fall. So you definitely want to say, yes, this is booked. Like, the terminology means, like, I booked a meeting with these people, because the terminology comes from the old days of the plumbers and air conditioning guys. So yeah, like, I booked an appointment with this potential customer. And anytime it's in one of the categories that you're advertising, you want to go ahead and book that as a good call, which means you pay Google, anywhere between, depending on your market, $61, and it's up to $300 now in some markets. But you definitely want to pay for that call if it was a good lead. Even if you're not going to take the case, you did meet with the person, they were potentially a case, they were in one of your subject areas. Now, what if somebody calls and it's like a spam call, a robocall, or someone calls and they're looking for a real estate attorney, and you're in personal injury? Well, then you shouldn't pay for that call. Okay, you want to tell the algorithm, hey, this person's looking for real estate. I don't want to pay for this call. So then what you're going to do is you're going to archive. So instead of clicking on booked, you're going to click on archived. And then, very important, because originally we thought you only had to archive the calls, you actually have to click on these three dots and you have to dispute. And then you put in a note here, like we said, this is a recorded spam call from Scammer Busters, and so we're not going to pay for that call. Okay, so very important. You manage the live program, you mark the calls as booked, or you archive them if they're not good, and you dispute them if you don't want to pay for that call. Now, I saw a question came in, so give me one sec here. And I can't see it, so maybe I'll do that at the end. So stick with me. I'll probably answer all your questions as we get through this. Okay. Next section, how to get in the top 3, the secret algorithm. So it's not that I would call it a secret algorithm, because we've assembled this from multiple conversations with our top Google rep and by speaking to the folks over at Google Screened who are running the program. So here's the 6 elements that weigh into a mathematical algorithm. So it's like the secret formula for Coca-Cola or the secret sauce in a Big Mac. Nobody knows for sure what's in the secret algorithm, but we've assembled this from all the testing we've done so far and from our conversations with the folks at Google who will share some of this insights. So how do you get in the top 3? So again, this is a desktop. There would be 2 if it was on a cell phone. How do you get in the top 3 or move up the list of all the folks who are screened? Number 1 is reviews. Now, Google has been putting a high priority on reviews for the map section of Google SEO. So we always knew you needed lots of reviews, but now we know it's really, really critical also for Google Screened. So you see here generally that the folks who are higher up, when I click, remember I said you can always click here, more personal injury attorneys. So you can see everyone in your marketplace who's screened, and generally the folks who are higher up are the people who are performing best in the algorithm. But one of the very, very important things is reviews. So you need to make sure you're getting lots of reviews. And in our previous webinars, where we did a whole webinar on Google Maps and getting ranked in the Google Maps, and we'll repeat that and update it again this year, you want to use a tool called Birdeye or another one of the review services. But Birdeye's become sort of the best one. We recommend it for attorneys and professional services. And this is one of those professional services where you get a client, you get a good result for them, and then you enter them in your bird eye, and it sends them an email and it makes it very easy for them to do a Google review. And it also tracks all of that, and it has a bunch of other functionality. So we recommend bird eye to get more reviews, but just asking your happy customers for reviews, very, very important. Having a contest among your paralegals, another great way to get more reviews. The next thing that's critical, and it, reviews and responsiveness maybe are one and 1A in the algorithm from what we've seen so far. You have to answer the phone. Now, you guys are professional attorneys or accountants or whatever. I'm sure you think you answer the phone, but you've got to make sure that 24 hours a day, if you're getting these clicks on these Google ads, you're answering the phone, because there's a reason. In the old days, when Google first launched the program like 2 years ago with plumbers, the plumbers found a way to trick Google. If they didn't answer the phone call and then they called the person right back because they could see the number, they could book an appointment with that person and not pay Google for the lead. So there's two reasons why you have to answer the phone. Obviously, number one is you don't want the person hitting the back button and calling someone else in Google screened, or calling someone else on a Google search, going to somebody else's website. So you want to take those calls for the purpose of converting them to clients if they're good prospects, right? But number two is you got to tell the algorithm, we're here 24/7. We've got an after hours answering service, and we're going to answer every single call. Really, really critical in this algorithm, especially at this time when these leads are so precious and so few people are getting, the high percentage of these Google screen leads. The next thing is no complaints. Now, I'm sure you run a professional business. You've got to make sure this might be a good time to do an audit of your customer service, to listen to some of these calls, and to make sure that you guys are operating at the highest level of professionalism. If you have any concerns, if you think your team could be better, listen to the intake webinar I did with Gary Falkowitz, our webinar we did in April or May of last year. You can find it on 10 Golden Rules on our blog. Listen to that and improve your intake team, improve your customer service. The next recommendation, and to perform better in the algorithm, the secret algorithm, you want to add all 24 hours. So you want to tell Google Screened, we're available 24/7. When we went from 9 to 5 to 24 hours for a lot of our clients, it seemed to give us a jump, and we seemed to get more calls in the Google Screened. And availability is really important, according to Google and the folks we've spoken to over at Google. The next thing is proximity. Now, there's not much you can do about that, because where the person is, where they're physically located, where their cell phone is, and how close they are to your location is going to improve the proximity. So we are playing around with getting multiple locations for some attorneys. You can't cheat Mother Nature, so you can't fool Google with just like a Regis office location. But there is definitely for consideration the value of getting multiple locations. And one of our attorneys has 5 or 6 locations. So we've been setting up one at a time and adding them to the algorithm. Next up is your bid. Now, originally Google said bidding didn't matter, but clearly they've added bidding as one of the components, and you can bid more. So we'll get to that in the advanced tips. You can bid more, and you can set manual bidding. So let's get into the advanced tips. The first one is it's not just about the reviews you get in Google Maps. There's also a review function built right into Google Screened. So you see here, under leads, under reviews, when you click there, you can actually ask people who called for a review. We blocked out the phone numbers, but you can send a note to those folks, and Google will text them, or if they have a Google account, they'll send them a note. And obviously this is going to take a little time in the cycle, because generally you ask folks for a review once you've helped them on their case, once you've got things under control with the insurance company. Maybe that's a good time to ask for a review. And obviously, if you're a personal injury attorney, or you're resolving some sort of dispute and you're getting them a check, that's a great time to ask for a review. So Google Screened is relatively new. Most people have only been on it for 2 or 3 months. So it might be 3, 4, 5, 6 months more until we start asking for reviews right from within the Google Screen program. But obviously, that's going to be a little secret weapon, an advanced tip, if you will. Turn on message leads. Again, we've found that if you only are taking phone calls and you're not taking the emails, you don't get as many Google Screened, right? Some folks are going to want to send you a text. They're not going to want to hop on a phone call. So by telling the algorithm we're available, it can be very, very valuable. And you get these notes right in the Google Screen program, and it comes to you as an email as well. And that's why we signed up multiple people at the firm to get the emails to make sure we don't miss any of these message leads. And as I mentioned before, we're switching over from automated bidding to max bidding, and we're raising the bids. And one thing that's very important, again, we've talked to multiple people at Google, set your max bid and then leave it alone. The intent, a lot of guys are very intense and they're going to want to like get in the program and do something every day. But we've talked to multiple people at Google, set it and forget it, leave it alone for 10 days, leave it alone for 2 weeks. And we've seen a little bit of success with that. So we go into the program, we set the max per lead. When you click on custom, so in this market, we can actually bid up to $375 per call. It's a crazy high amount of money, but look, in personal injury, we will generally pay, more than that for a good lead in Google pay-per-click. So if you're really in a competitive market and you're a big aggressive firm, you're going to want to set the max lead and then set the daily budget. I haven't done this yet, but you can set it as high as like 100,000 a week, which is crazy, but you're never going to get that many calls. Keep an eye on the program, but we definitely are setting it much higher than the budget we want to spend, and nobody's able to achieve that number. So you got to set it higher, keep an eye on it. It's not like pay-per-click where if you set your budget at like 50,000, it's going to spend 50,000. You got to set it high to get in the game. It's risky, I know. It's uncomfortable, but it seems to be the best way to do it. So the advanced tips, reviews and reviews. Get a program like a Bird Eye, get a ton of reviews, very, very important, but also critical that you figure out how to get the reviews from within Google Screen. So when you help someone out, when you help them with their case, request the review from within the Google Screen program. That is going to be super valuable, I believe, in the algorithm going forward. Set yourself up in the program for 24 hours. Take calls, get an after hours call service. We like a company called Alert Communications, but there's a number of other professionals who can take your calls 24/7 if your office hours are outside of that. Take the message leads. So don't only take the calls, take the message leads as well. Some of those are really, really good. And finally, you want to max out your bids and budget if you're really serious about playing in this game. Um, I've seen like 30 or 40 of these accounts now. We have yet to get anywhere near the max budget that we've set. So if you set it for like 3,000-4,000 a week, you're not going to get that many calls. You're not going to use up that budget. There's only so much available from Google, and they're sharing the wealth, if you will. And so finally, I'm just going to wrap up with a summary. Lead the trends. 10 golden rules. Golden rule number 10, lead the trends. You've got a 3 to 6 month window to take advantage of this now. And we've seen, like, we got our client approved in New York. They were the 5th people screened. So when you clicked here on the more personal injury lawyers, they were number 5, and there was only 5 with a check mark. Now there's about 150 approved in New York. There's about 150 in Miami, about 150 in LA. And when we have this conversation again 3 months from now, there's probably going to be 1,500 or 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 approved. I mean, Google's going to be splitting up all those calls amongst a lot of people. So the window is now. Get screened. Spend some time today. Go in and sign up. Follow these steps. If you want to follow it in detail, we'll send you a recording of this webinar probably by Monday or Tuesday of next week, and you can go through each of the steps. Make sure you get screened, get Pinkerton approved, and get in the program. We talked about how to do that, how to get screened, set up, maybe one thing you could do right now, just go set up a new Gmail address that you're going to use for the program. Go to, search local service ads and find the program and get started signing up. How do you manage live leads? We talked about that. Two really important things. Definitely accept any good lead that's in, or any lead that's in your category. So if it's a car accident, if the person's injured, a slip and fall, if your personal injury, mark it booked as if you met with that person, even if they have no insurance and you're not going to take the case. You want to tell the algorithm, yes, we want more calls like this anytime the person searches, in one of our category areas, in our relevant category areas. Like, even I'm using the personal injury, but real estate lawyer or divorce attorney. If they're coming in your category, in your practice area, you want to mark that as booked, even if you don't take the case. Pay Google for the leads in your category to tell the algorithm, I want more calls in that category. And then the other things we talked about, answering the phone, getting more reviews, all these things are really, really critical in the algorithm to get you up the list. And finally, some of the advanced tips, things like right now, one of the best things you can do is set your max bid and set your weekly bids higher. You will pay a little more, but our experience is you can't use up all that money unless you're in like a super small market and you're one of only 4 or 5 people who's approved. But even still, I mean, those are going to be great cases, right? Like, these people are searching Google, they're calling you. You can reject any of the bad ones. You're only paying for quality leads. Now, if we can help, I'm going to put a link in the chat, and then I'm going to take some questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my my Calendly link in the chat so you guys can ask me any questions. Sorry, I'm just playing around with my computer here. Bear with me, and I'm going to send you the Calendly link in the chat, and then I will answer some questions. Okay, chat. Okay, so if I can help you, and you want to walk through a strategy session with me, you can click that link. It's a super cool thing. It's called Calendly. It shows you my calendar, and you can book a strategy session with me. The first session's always free of charge. Okay, question from Joy Hawkins. Hey, Joy. Nice to see you on today. The stats on what percentage of leads convert, is that referring to people who turn into actual customers? Was that a particular industry or taken from a study? That's taken from our actual clients. So we do a lot of work on the back end, and we track how many calls we get from our programs, how many chats, and how many form fills. And that's statistical. That's across a number of our clients. And by far and away, you want people calling you in for law firms. If it's a longer cycle, like if you're a business attorney, people are more likely to fill out a form and expect you to call them back during business hours. But for things like personal injury and more immediate kind of things, and in particular these type of Google screened, for the most part, it's all about calls. Gail said, hi Gail, old school B2B attorneys still don't like asking clients for reviews. What's the next best thing beyond reviews? Well, look, there's no way around it. You got to ask for reviews. I mean, even if you're an old school attorney, like, reviews are so critical. I mean, you got to come up in maps, you got to come up in Google screened. Reviews are number 1 or number 2 most important thing in both of those algorithms. If you maybe an old school attorney, if you're like, a very large business to business type of corporate attorney, you don't want to ask those, obviously you're not going to ask, Michael Dell for a review if you're that level of attorney, but it wouldn't hurt. So it's pretty important. Question for Michael. Thanks, Michael. How bad will it hurt my account if I miss a phone call? You know, I think you can get away with missing a few phone calls. So you might, you know, get, let's say you get 10 Google Screen calls over a couple days and you miss one of them. That's okay, but call those folks back. So it's super important that your team is monitoring the Google Screen, monitoring the email you set up for Google Screen. And when you miss a call, you can call those folks back and then go into Screened. And if it's a good lead, mark it as booked, because Google knows, like the artificial intelligence has an algorithm, and it knows if those folks have searched a bunch of other people and a bunch of other things. So like the artificial intelligence knows that that was a good lead, and they know you missed the call. So it's okay to go in and mark it as booked and pay for it. Let me see if I have chat questions as well. So I'm looking at the Q&A and the chat. If you guys want to put any questions in, thank you all for the great questions. How are you handling messaging from firms that do not have responsive personnel after hours, and for multiple locations if a user can only be added to one account? So Laura, great question. So couple things there. So how are you handling messaging for firms? So what we're doing is we're setting up multiple people in the program. So as I mentioned, you've got to do that through the Google Ads program, what they used to call AdWords. So we use the new Gmail address, we set up a new Google Ads program, then we associate the ads with the new Google Screen, and then you can add users. So you can add 2 or 3 Gmails, or you can also, it's a little tricky, but you can add the corporate domain, and those folks can get emails every time you get a lead. And so if you cover off 2 or 3 people, and maybe even the after hours call center, you want to set them up with a copy so that you can jump on those right away. And for multiple locations, well, oh no, you can add a user to multiple accounts. So when you set up multiple locations, you can still bring it back to that original new Gmail that you set up. Is this only for lawyers or doctors' offices as well? Hema, I hope I'm pronouncing that okay. As far as we know, I haven't seen this for doctors yet, but I bet you it's coming. So what I would do is I'd just keep an eye on it, and I would search like whatever kind of doctor you are, like orthopedist near me, and I would look for it to come up. Or you could sort of contact Google and keep an eye on that. But you might even be able to sign up before it's available. So as soon as they have doctors in beta somewhere, you'll be able to sign up, get Pinkerton approved, and then when they bring it to your area, you'll get a notification that the ads are ready to go. So you should be able to sign up. You guys got the calendar link. Follow up from Joy. So if 100 people call, 24 become customers. Are you saying that 100 website visitors result in 24 calls? Well, what I'm saying is that of 100 calls, 24 become customers, 100 qualified calls. So out of 100, like in the old Google Ads program, pay per call, 24 qualified folks who search like car accident lawyer, 24% of overall calls, good qualified keywords turn into cases, turn into qualified customers, but only 2 or 3% of form fills. I mean, think of just the timing. Like a lot of times, let's say I always use this example. Someone's aunt was injured in a car accident, and so she's the young hip internet member of the family, and so they say, can you go do some research? We need an attorney for the aunt because she was injured. Her car's at the shop. The insurance company's not helping us out here. So she goes and does the research. Now, if she fills out a form, she's probably going to fill out a form for 2 or 3 other firms. And then when she hits the back button, goes back to Google, she might see a chat box and she might start chatting with a firm. Now, if the firm's really good, They're going to get her on the phone. They're going to get the aunt on the phone. They're going to try and convert that client. But the best thing is if she actually calls in, right? If she clicks a Google screen and she's on her cell phone, it's going to call the firm right away. And they're going to have a chance to sign her up or get the aunt on the phone and sign that case up right away. So the form fill, when when your intake team comes back to the office tomorrow morning and you call her back, she might have signed up with someone either by chat or on the phone the night before. So that's why it's so important to get those calls and to make chat available, because a lot of times I believe chat is like so valuable today. We see like a 30% boost in cases when you add chat to a website, because a lot of times, like, what if your kids are homeschooling and you don't want to phone in and talk to someone right now about your aunt's car accident, right? Or what if you're in line at the bank and you're just doing that research for your aunt while on your cell phone, right? There's no way you're making a phone call because you're going to be tied up in 2 minutes, or your kids are homeschooling. You can't talk about aunt's accident right now. So that's why chat becomes super valuable. It's more immediate. You get a chance to get information from this person, maybe book an appointment with the aunt right tomorrow, and you lock them into as a lead, whereas forms are so passive and so hard to get into that serious conversation. Okay, thank you all. I love questions. It makes it so real, right? If the law firm has multiple practice areas, can they create separate local service ads for each practice area? So when you sign into the program, you actually select the practice areas that you want calls in. So if, like, some firms don't do dog bites because it's not in some states, like, it's there's there's no great cases for dog bites. So you can say yes or no to dog bites. And obviously, like, if you're personal injury, you would see the dog bite option. But if you're family law, you wouldn't see dog bite. So you'd get 3 or 4 different family law categories, and you can say yes or no. I want calls in this category. I don't want calls in this category. Great question. Thank you, Maria. Question from Megan. What's the reason behind needing to opening a new Gmail account for this? Well, the reason is that this is kind of a new program and it's kind of buggy. So and even if you talk to the Google reps, they're like, yeah, don't use an existing account because it confuses Google and you're getting approved. It doesn't make any sense, right? Like, you would think if, Mr. Attorney at lawfirm.com signed up using his law firm account email, it would be more credible. But for some reason, the program works well with a brand new Gmail. So set up a brand new Gmail, set up your Google screen, go through all the Pinkerton questions, then set up a new Google Ads account to add multiple people in the account. Seems like the best way. And again, we've done many of these, and we talked to multiple people at Google. I'm sorry, I'm just going back here between the chat and the Q&A. How are pay-per-lead service ads different from regular Google ads? And can these ads replace other digital marketing efforts? It's a great question. So these are what's called local service ads or Google screened, and you pay per call or you pay per message. Google advertising, you pay per click or you pay per call, because there is a click to call now function that you can set up in Google Ads. So like in the old like 3 months ago, Google advertising, you would see a little, and it's still there, a little click to call. But obviously where Google screened is right at the top and the click to calls are there. These are click to calls, but there's also click to calls in Google advertising. I know that's a little confusing. How does it replace other digital marketing efforts? I think the best way to explain that is, like, this is right at the top. So it doesn't replace it, but it's going to precede it. So like the consumer is going to see this right at the top. And my feeling is you got to be in the game, right? You got to get screened, you got to get approved, you got to get your share of the screen calls. It doesn't mean you stop optimizing your maps. It doesn't mean you stop your AdWords program, your Google advertising. And Google advertising to me is always about, are you making money or not? Same thing with Google Screen. Like if you're getting a bunch of bogus calls, tell Google, I'm not paying for this. Press archive, press dispute, and don't pay for the calls. So that's a good thing. Like clicks in Google advertising, you can't reject those. You just pay per click. And when someone comes to your website, it's up to your website to convert. But you can't tell Google like that person was bogus. They were just coming to my website to sell me advertising or something. So the beauty of Google Screened or these brand new local service ads, you can reject calls and not pay for them. Question from Ed. Hey, Ed, I haven't seen you before. Nice to meet you. Is there a negative repercussion insofar as ranking to use a location that you don't have bricks and mortar representation? Yeah, so that's a two-part thing. Part one is, we're not pushing the limit. So, you can set up as far a geography as you want, but we're not going more than like an hour or two from the attorney's location. You can maybe push the envelope. And there's definitely some games being played. Like we're seeing, people from different areas coming up in the results. Like when this program first went live, one of my buddies in Tampa was coming up here, and I'm on the east coast of Florida. Tampa's on the west coast of Florida. But I think over time, that proximity algorithm is going to get closer and closer. So you want to tell Google, hey, I only want calls from like, whatever, 45-minute or hour drive. And you want to match the algorithm. Like people aren't going to call, someone in Boca Raton's not going to call someone in Tampa if there's like 7 people in Boca, right? So you want to be a fit with that artificial intelligence or machine learning, however Google built this, because there's no human being looking at each and every instance. It's all being done through the math. Pete P, hey Pete, we have a live LSA ad for our bankruptcy law firm, and we've only selected Chapter 11 in business bankruptcy. We continue to receive low quality Chapter 7 leads, which we dispute since we're not advertising for those leads yet. Google's still charging us for those leads. Yeah, so what you do is you go in and you archive those leads, and then you click dispute, and you explain why, and you write a detailed description in the call. So on the form, you can actually write a detailed description there. I just got some stuff coming in on my phone. Let me double check. Okay, all good. And I think that's all the questions. So feel free to hop in and into the chat or into the Q&A if you have any other questions. If not, we'll call that a wrap. I'd love to meet with you. So if I can help, if you have any other questions, or, ideally, from my perspective, if you're unhappy with your SEO agency, your internet marketing agency, I'd love to have a conversation with you. As I said, the first conversation's free. So go to my Calendly. I put the link in the chat. I'll pop it in there again. Or just, email me. You all got an email for this webinar. And with that, I'm just going to make sure I didn't miss anything here. See who else is here. Alexandria, Ashley, Andrew, Ed's here. We saw Gerard's here. Oh, awesome. Gerard, we got a call next week. Hema's here. Holly. Hey, Holly. Jeff Phillips. If it's the real Jeff Phillips, hope everything's well. Best to Olga. Joe Catania's here. Those guys are awesome in Tampa. Laura's here. Maria, Megan, Michael, thanks for coming, buddy. Olivia, thank you so much for everything. Sandy Van is here. Sandy, nice to meet you. I saw your registration. And Stacy and Steve Klitzner. Hey, Steve. All right. Well, thanks everyone for being here. And I look forward to seeing you next month. Awesome webinar next month, by the way. Chelsea, our creative director, and my friend Nicholas Skalich, who's one of the top landing page designers in the world, and Chelsea's a website developer. We're going to talk about building your legal website and designing landing pages that convert. So next month is all about websites, design, creative, and conversion. With that, have a great day, everyone, and see you next month.